From wanting to return to the sport in 2024 to sabotaging his own F1 career by refusing teams that want him, is Daniel Ricciardo ever returning to Formula One? If so, then when? Well, the word on the street is that he's eyeing a 2024 return to the sport. Okay, not really, it's what he said himself. He claims that he wants to return to the sport in 2024, but the issue here is Daniel Ricciardo was let go by McLaren in 2022 after an extremely disappointing 2-year spell. Once he was let go, he was offered a seat on some teams, but here's the thing about Ricciardo, he didn't want to join any of them. Because according to him, it's better to take a step back from the sport than to join anyone on the back of the grid. And while his 2-year spell at McLaren was disastrous, the truth is he still holds some value. You see, folks, the Aussie did manage to establish himself as one of the top drivers during his stint at Red Bull. He even managed to rack up 7 race wins and was lauded as the future world champion. But then Max Verstappen joined the team and the pair started to clash. And it started to become quite clear that the Austrian team prefers his younger teammate over him. So instead of being a second driver at a top team, Danny Ric decided to be a first driver at a mid-team, Renault. His stint at Renault wasn't bad either. Like, he didn't win races or compete for the championship, but it wasn't as bad as what was to come, his time at McLaren. You see, he kept getting beat by his much younger, less experienced teammate, Lando Norris. And that did taint his reputation as one of the best drivers. But here's what you've got to remember about the guy. He's popular. Extremely popular. He's always smiling, bursting into song, and just all out being cheeky. So his popularity and commercial value alone would guarantee him a seat on some of the teams. But as I mentioned before, he wants to get in a competitive car, but not in a Williams or a Haas. So let's talk about where he could maybe end up, starting with the elephant in the room, Red Bull. Ever since he joined the team, a lot of fans have been talking about how the team might replace Sergio Perez with the Aussie. And the thing is, Red Bull's had a stellar start to the 2023 season. I mean, it won the first 5 races in a row. The truth is, Red Bull RB19 is the car every single driver would want to be in right now, and guess what? Ricciardo is no different. Take a look at what he stated. Truthfully, Red Bull is the #1 seat. That's what I would love. But then there's a problem with all of this. You see, Max Verstappen is the reason he left the team, and the thing about Max is his contract ends in 2028. So he's going nowhere, that's for sure. Plus, he's also on his way to winning a 3rd successive world championship, so he's stronger than ever, for sure. Now, if Daniel ever does get into Perez's seat, he's going to have to make peace with the fact that he won't be anything more than just a second driver, helping the first driver to win the world championship over and over again. But that's if he gets into Perez's seat. Because you see, Perez is signed with the team until the end of 2024. So while a Red Bull return might just be possible for the guy, the truth is it won't happen in 2024. Because there's no way they're letting go of Perez so soon. On top of that, the Mexican driver has also calmed down a bit, and he's also started playing the team game, knowing that there's a big Ricciardo-shaped target on his back. Plus, there's speculation that while Daniel is the 3rd Red Bull driver, if Max or Sergio were unavailable in a race, the team would promote Yuki Tsunoda from AlphaTauri instead of putting Ricciardo in the seat. Cause you see, folks, Yuki's been doing well lately. He's leading the team, he's consistent as a heck, and he's doing a good job with the horrible car that he has. Since he's only 23 years old, chances are that Red Bull is preparing him for their main team, so they're going to give him a chance to shine in RB19. But the point is, Daniel's a long, long way from driving for Red Bull in competitive circumstances. So he will have to join another team if he wants to get back in the sport. But is he good enough for that? Well, Christian Horner thinks so. The Red Bull team principal Horner has stated that the Honey Badger has been enjoying the RB19 in the simulator, and that he's super excited to test it out in the real world. He also added that Danny has been training extremely hard, and because of this, he's ready to be back on the grid again. But the question is, since the Red Bull return seems unlikely, where else could he go? Well, the first thing that pops into mind is Aston Martin, isn't it? You see, Aston Martin has made some massive progress in just 1 year. In 2022, the team finished 7th in the Constructors' Cup, and then in 2023, it's looking like it's ready to take 2nd place, right behind Red Bull. Cause here's the thing, Aston Martin completely changed its design philosophy to make a car that mimics the RB19. That's cause the team hired Dan Fallows, the former Red Bull employee and its head of aerodynamics. And the AMR 23 does look quite similar to the RB19 and the RB18. Even Sergio Perez stated after the first race that it was nice to see 3 Red Bulls on the podium. So while Aston Martin was considered a bottom-tier team, it's most certainly a top-tier team now. Especially because from 2026 onwards, the team will be getting its power units from Honda. You know, the same Japanese company that's been making world-class engines that power Red Bull. So it makes perfect sense for Ricciardo to join, right? Well, yes, but it's not as easy as it sounds, cause here's the thing, right? The team's contract with Fernando Alonso runs until the end of 2024, and the 2nd seat on the team, Lance's seat, is never ever opening up since his dad owns the team. So a 2024 return with Aston Martin? Impossible. A 2025 return with Aston Martin? Maybe, but even then, if Lando decides to break his contract with McLaren because of the team's horrible performance, then he's going to be ahead of Daniel in the queue since he's younger and he's proven himself time and time again. So while a 2025 return with Aston might just be the best case scenario for the guy, it's looking unlikely. Then we've got Ferrari, which also seems unlikely. Look, Leclerc loves the team, and the team loves him, so unless the team's performance is hopeless, the chances are that he's going to be staying with them, and if he does leave, that means that there's no point in driving for Ferrari, since Ricciardo's adamant on driving for a top team. He could replace Carlos Sainz, but he's signed on with the team until the end of 2024. On top of that, Ferrari's kind of a big, proud organization. There's no way the team would hire someone who sat out the sport for 2 years. So Ferrari? Yeah, not happening. But how about Mercedes? Could he maybe return to F1 with the Silver Arrows? Honestly, he could. Cause you see, Lewis has been linked to Ferrari for the longest time now. On top of that, his contract does expire at the end of the 2023 season. And guess what? He and Toto haven't discussed an extension. So there's a slight chance he might be leaving the team. If that's the case, it would make sense for the German team to pair up with the Aussie, cause let's be real, give him a good car and he'll show you what he's made of. Plus, if Ferrari ever replaces Sainz with Hamilton, then between Sainz and Daniel is a much better option. However, if the prancing horse shows the door to Leclerc instead, which just by the way would be super unlikely, then the Monegasque would be a better option for the Silver Arrows. But then again, all of this relies on the fact that Lewis is leaving Mercedes or retiring, both of which don't seem super likely. So, you know his best bet? Go to a team that wants him. You see, Haas and Williams do want the guy. Wouldn't it be better if he joined them for the 2024 season, proved he could get points in a horrible car, and then maybe wait for a seat to open up at a top team? Honestly, looking at how happy the top teams are with their drivers, Daniel is just shooting himself in the foot by only wanting to race for them. So, from sabotaging his own F1 career by refusing teams that want him, to wanting to return to the sport in 2024, that was everything on whether Daniel Ricciardo is returning to Formula One.